Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name's Steve Philp, and I'm the Partnership Director here at Portugal Pathways and your host for today's webinar. Now, today's event will give you a clear understanding of how Portugal's Golden Visa remains one of the most attractive residency by investment programs in Europe, offering
Wait, Steve, you're cutting, Steve.
EU residency, dual passport, and eventual citizenship for you and your family without requiring full-time relocation. We'll break down the current. We'll be breaking down the current routes available, particularly in focusing on the alternative investment fund route, alongside the process timelines and key legal considerations. We'll also be touching on and what it could mean for Golden Visa applicants. I seem to be having a little bit of an issue with my camera, so I'm just going to go take that off just to stop confusing everybody. There we go. Okay. I'm not the important person here. The panelists are, so that's all good. Before we sort of get started, just a quick note. Obviously, the webinar is being recorded, so if you have to leave before the end, you'll be receiving a watch back link within the next 24 hours. And we will be holding a Q&A session at the end. So please, obviously, post your questions and comments in the chat during the webinar. We'll answer as many as we can, obviously, during the webinar and in the Q&A. But if we can't get to all of the questions, then our team at Portugal Pathways will follow up individually with you. And again, if there's any requests for discovery calls or you require more information, again, please reach out in the chat, and my colleagues will be putting up various links so that you can book a discovery call with one of our expert partners. So talking of expert partners, I want to introduce you to our panelists. Firstly, we have Paul Stannard. So Paul is the chairman and founder of Portugal Pathways and the Portugal Owners Investment Club. Alongside Paul, we have Henrique Nunes. He is the lead immigration lawyer and a partner at CMS Law in Lisbon. And finally, Antonio Cardozo, who is a private equity analyst for Portugal Future Fund, which is managed by Quadrantis Capital. So thank you, Paul, Henrique, and Antonio, for joining us today. Before we sort of dive into the main discussion, can the sort of panel give us an outline on the recent news around the potential Portuguese citizenship reforms that could be happening in the future and sort of what this means in reality? So I'm going to start with Paul, and then I'm going to get Henrique to sort of come in behind Paul as well.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, I mean, before we sort of dig into it, it's important to note that none of the proposals putting forward change the Golden Visa program at all. So the changes are more around sort of making sure that they protect the rights of the country in terms of any bad actors, and just to make people feel more Portuguese in terms of their integration. So there's a cultural element that they're proposing to add. But I would reiterate that none of this really changes the Golden Visa program. You can still invest in exactly the same way. It's just, some qualifying people under these proposals may have to wait a little bit longer to get permanent citizenship than is the current situation. I don't know if...
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. So Henrique, I mean, if you can come in behind Paul and give a little bit of flavour, obviously, for the audience's understanding, you're part of obviously a lobbying group of professional, obviously in Portugal, who are sort of keeping the government held to account with regards to these new reforms. So can you give us a little bit more sort of flavour of what the latest news is?
I will need to take some time here on this point because I'm the only lawyer in the panelists, and so just for everyone understand what is actually on the table. There are two main amendments that are being discussed right now. One would be increasing the minimum legal residency requirement from 5 to 7 or 10 years, depending. So 7 years for all of those with a passport from a Portuguese-speaking country, Brazil, Angola, Cape Verde, among all the others, and 10 years for all the other countries where the citizens from UK and from the States would be included, for example. And another requirements of a civic knowledge test, Portuguese culture, rights and duties. There is not much to say about this test. It should be something straightforward, but according with the proposed amendment, this would be one of the new requirements. It's important to note, as Steve was mentioning and as Paul was mentioning, and really well, this is just a law proposal, okay, which means that it still needs to go to the parliament. In the parliament, we still need a discussion in general, which is taking the document as a whole, and then the discussion, the detailed discussion, and voting article by article, and with experts that really understand what they're talking about. And then a third part within the parliamentary stage, which is the final vote. Okay. After this, it will still need to go to the promulgation of the President of Republic. The President of Republic may either approve it or do one of two things. He may send it to the constitutional courts because he has serious doubts on the constitutionality of the bill, or he may use his right of veto. In which case, it goes back to the Parliament and it needs to be discussed again and be approved by 2/3 of the Parliament members. uh, After this promulgation of the President of Republic, it still needs to go to final approval of the Prime Minister and publication on the Portuguese official Gazette, and only after this takes into force. This means that, of course, this will still take time. There is uncertainty about what is going to be the final draft of the law, not only on the specific amendments to the law, but also on the grandfathering regimes. This means what? That, of course, that everyone that understands a little bit of these matters know that new laws can only apply to the future. Okay, so we do believe that the grandfatherings that are not in this proposal but should be in the final draft are going to protect all of those whose golden visa file was submitted before this new law takes into force. The thing is, the law was not proposed that way, also related with the political purposes of the law. And right now, what is happening is that we are having many meetings with the informal and individual meetings with many members of the government and of the parties in the opposition, just to try to influence what is going to be the final draft of the law. And the thing is that we have high expectations that the law, as we know now, as it is proposed, is not. It's going to be much different than the law that we are going to have in the end. So the discussions were postponed until September because everyone made so much noise around the constitutionality of the document that the government looked at all of that and said, okay, maybe I'm not going to approve this in a rush. I think I should hear some opinions before approving this. So the government itself delayed the hearings and the auditions and the collection of information on these matters until the third week of September. And only after the third week of September, we are going through the parliamentary stages that I was mentioning. So as I was saying, we do believe, because of this delay that the government itself ended up accepting, and because of all the opinions that are being given, there is already a legal opinion issued by a really well-known and respected constitutional expert called Jorge Miranda, who already came to public to say that this document cannot be approved as it is. So in the end, we should have clearly a different bill. This to say that if for you it's not relevant if you are going to have the new law, the 5 years or the 7-10 years, the idea is that we try to file it as soon as possible, because everyone believes there's a high expectation that the final draft is going to have a grandfathering regime protecting all of those who filed the golden visa before this new law takes into force. This that I'm saying, of course, that if you don't know yet, if you are going if you are still interested in the golden visa, if these amendments are approved as they are, what we are advising and what everyone is doing is we should move forward with everything. We should ask for the tax ID. We should start opening the bank account. We should have everything ready to make the investment and to file the golden visa, because if all of a sudden we have an approval of a law and we still have time to file it, and you agree with the terms of the new law, if you start when the new law is approved, you may not have time to do everything and to complete the investment and to file the golden visa. But if we do everything and we are ready to invest the 500,000 and with all the documents to submit, and we have time to submit it between the approval and the moment the law takes into force, we can do that. Okay, so the idea is, just in summary, either you want to move forward with the golden visa no matter which law is going to apply, and in this case, please contact us, please contact Pathways, and we need to move forward as soon as possible. If you are interested but you are not sure if you will be interested because of these discussed legal amendments, you should do everything up to the moment you are ready to complete the investment, and we wait until the moment we have more clarity on what is going to be the final draft. So these are more or less what I wanted to share regarding this legal amendment. Sorry that I was too long. I just wanted to make sure, as a final note, that these legal amendments, as you can see, but by what I said here, do not cancel any kind of goals. It only delay their achievement. So the golden visa keeps active. We keep filing golden visas almost on a daily basis. These amendments will only delay their achievement, okay, not cancel any kind of goals. Sorry, I was a bit long, Steve, but I needed to add this information.
I think that was an excellent in-depth overview of where we stand at the moment. And again, as Henry suggested, obviously this has got a few stages to go through. And again, at Portugal Pathways and with expert partners such as Henrique, we will be informing our communities of any amendments or any changes. So if you haven't already signed up to our newsletter, please do so. My colleagues obviously put that in the chat. And if, again, you wanted a one-to-one discovery call with one of our golden visa experts following this webinar to talk about your specific sort of family situation and how it may directly or indirectly affect you, and then please obviously book that, and we can have that sort of no obligation call with you, just to sort of talk around your personal situation and look to see how the golden visa could work for you and obviously your dependents.
Steve,
yeah.
Steve, could I just add one other thing to what Henrique said? And this is not to do with the changes, to do with the benefits, because we haven't talked about any of the benefits here. And the majority of people that go for golden visa are not choosing to come there permanently, otherwise they would go for a D visa. They want a plan B. They want the flexibility to be able to have a residency card, which is like a passport, that they can come and go as they please, as long as they enter through Portugal and exit through Portugal, and have access to 29 Schengen region countries and still choose to, pay tax where they choose to pay tax, and along that journey may migrate to, a tax situation in Portugal if that suits them. If it doesn't suit them, it gives them that flexibility to choose their own tax jurisdiction.
I would just add as a summary, so that the golden visa basically gives a second residency in Portugal and access to all the Schengen area only by staying 7 days per year in Portugal, which is quite amazing. Yes, Pog.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a good point.
Thank you. Well, so do you want to sort of move this on again? And excuse me, since the ending of the property investment route for golden visa applicants, we've seen the investors now focus on alternative investment funds approved for golden visas. Now, there are other routes in getting golden visas, such as job creations and donation, but 99.9% of people are choosing the golden visa residency by investment option in one or more of the regulated funds that are approved under this, under the control of the Portuguese regulators, the CMVM. So, Paul, you work sort of really closely with investors and families seeking golden visas. Can you sort of share some of the sort of motivating factors?
Well, the investment motivating factors, Steve, or the motivating factors for choosing Portugal for your golden visa?
The motivating factors for both.
Right. Okay. Sure. Yeah. So for families, you know, we live in a world where things are uncertain in the world, and Portugal has become this sort of haven. Geographically, it sits on the edge of Europe. It's away from a lot of the displacement in the world and trouble in the world. It's one of the safest. It's one of the most peaceful. It's one of the most happiest places. It also has welcoming people, which I can say, as someone that has made the same choice that some of the people are on this call are considering. And it has a great lifestyle. It has a low cost of living. And there are lots and lots of opportunities in Portugal that perhaps weren't even there 15 years ago because of the amount of talent, because of the amount of investment. Portugal is now outperforming Germany, France, the UK, Canada on GDP. Its inflation is decreasing while other nations are creeping back up again. It's, you know, who would have said that after the financial crisis? And that, with what we're seeing in the States, with you know what's going on there geopolitically, what we're seeing with what the impact that's having on the dollar, what we're seeing in the UK with inheritance tax and capital gains, a lot of people are choosing Portugal as a safe haven, and not just for a second passport. Very quickly that ends up moving into a love for the country and then wanting to explore a lot more than just the golden visa.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. Antonio, sort of turning to you, could you give some more background information on Quadrantis Capital and the Portugal Future Fund? I know that your team has seen considerable growth over the last 10 years, and this latest fund is showing significant traction, obviously due to the sections and obviously the diversification that it offers. I think we've got a couple of slides that will give some context to our audience and obviously just highlight your track record and the important sectors obviously that the Portugal Future Fund invests in and why. So give me 2 seconds, I'll just put those up for you.
Sure.
There you go, and just let me know when you want me to move on to the next one.
Okay, so first of all, it's a pleasure to join this panel. I represent the Portugal Future Fund, managed by Quadrantis Capital, a regulated private equity firm with over 350 million in assets under management and a 15% average IRR across past funds. The Portugal Future Fund is a CMVM regulated closed-end fund with a 7-year maturity. It was launched in early 2025. Early this year, with 100 million euros hard cap, and it's fully eligible for the Portuguese Golden Visa program. We are currently in the capital raising phase with a good traction, as Steve has highlighted, accepting qualified investors with a minimum commitment of 100,000 euros, which contributes towards the 500,000 euros Golden Visa requirements. Could you please move forward, Steve? Yeah, so basically, the fund, our investment thesis is grounded in diversification across sectors that will shape Portugal's economic future, such as healthcare, with the private healthcare sector growing 8% annually, technology supported by one of the world's top engineering graduate pools, tourism and hospitality, forecasted to expand significantly with over 14 billions of infrastructure investment, media and events, with a fast-growing space thanks to the international visibility from events like the Web Summit and 2030 FIFA World Cup. And last but not least, the renewables, where Portugal leads Europe with over 81% of electricity already sourced from green energy. We balance low, medium, and high-risk opportunities, aiming to deliver strong returns while contributing to Portugal's long-term productivity, job creation, and sustainability.
Lovely. Thank you, Antonio. A great overview there. Now, your senior team brings much experience from institutions like JP Morgan, Rolls-Royce, and the World Bank. Could you sort of share some more about this team's background and its impact on investment outcomes? And again, I think I've got a slide here for you to talk to.
Yes.
That one.
Sure.
There we go.
So basically, our senior team brings together a unique blend of entrepreneurial drive, institutional investment expertise, and strategic insights, enabling us to actively support our portfolio companies well beyond the capital deployment. Together, this team has scaled Quadrantes from 100 million euros to 350 million euros in assets under management in just 3 years. Their track record and deep network across multiple sectors place Quadrantes at the forefront of the Portuguese private equity landscape. Thanks to such a wide network, we often gain access to high-quality investment opportunities before they reach their broader market. This allows us to structure deals under favorable conditions, perform thorough due diligence early, and offer our investors privileged exposure to unique, high-growth companies. At Quadrantes, we bring more than capital. We bring strategic guidance, operational support, and governance expertise to every venture we back.
Lovely. Thank you, Antonio. So again, we're seeing lots of comments and lots of questions now coming into the chat. So again, if you want to have a sort of one-to-one conversation, a sort of discovery call, if you like, with one of our experts, then obviously please, give us a call and book an appointment through that link that my colleague is now sharing. So just sort of moving on, Henrique, just give us a little bit of a flavour on the sort of types of clients, specifically some of the sort of locations and the countries that you are seeing sort of pursue the golden visa in 2025, and what are some of the sort of considerations that these individuals are making?
No, so right now the most of our clients they are from US and UK. Okay, if we could risk a percentage, easily around 70 to 80% of Americans and Canadians. Then we have Americans and people from UK. Then we have Canadians. We have Brazilians, some Brazilians. We have some from Middle East. Especially Lebanese and a few Israelis, but mostly we can say that 70 to 80%. I think that most of the players in the market nowadays, Americans and applicants from UK. And we are because of this we are super experienced with the specificities of each one of which kind of documents, how which kind of criminal record, what kind of certifications need to be made. Eventually, in the case of Americans, we have many times, I think this is a consideration that is important to make. There are some Americans that want to do the investment through the IRA account. We have ways of doing through the IRA account directly to the fund. I mean, any kind of specificity that we might need to take into consideration when it comes to Americans and investors from UK, we have that experience because, as I was saying, most of our clients are from these countries.
Lovely. Thank you, Henrik. Henrik and Antonio, can you sort of walk us sort of through the application and investment process? Again, Henrik, if I start with you, with regards to the immigration application process, so what are the first steps for applicants once they've engaged and onboarded a legal representative such as?
I will make an effort to cut the story short in order not to bother all the listeners. But basically, so the first step is always asking for the tax ID, for the Portuguese tax ID, and starting to open the bank account. Okay. While we are opening that, the KYC of the bank account is completed. The idea is that the investors start speaking with Pathways, start speaking with experts in order to choose the fund or the funds in case the clients want to diversify in which they want to invest. Okay, once we have a clearer view, we should also start at the same time asking for the criminal record. The thing is that, just a quick detail, the criminal record has a validity of 90 days. So usually we only ask for the criminal record when we have a clearer view of when we will be ready to make the investment, just to avoid the need of asking for a second criminal record. Once we gather, once we have the bank account open, once we have the 500,000 ready to be invested and all the documents ready to be filed, we complete the investment. We get the bank statements from the management entity of the fund and from the bank, attesting that the investment was completed. We gather that together with all the personal documents, namely criminal records, birth certificates, marriage certificates for the spouse that is going to be included in the marriage, in the family unification request. We gather all these documents, we file it online. From this moment onwards, it starts counting from for the 5 years that we need for the citizenship. Okay. After this online submission, we will get a pre-approval. Once we get the pre-approval, we will receive a notification for the applicant and all its family, in case where the family exists. They will need to come to Portugal to collect the biometrics in order for the cards to be issued. Just a quick note to let everyone know that this moment where we get the pre-approval and the client needs to come with his family to collect the biometrics for the cards, it's actually the first moment where we need the applicant and the family to move to Portugal. Up to this stage, we can take care of everything remotely through our contacts. Okay, namely asking for the Portuguese tax ID, opening the bank account here in Portugal, taking care. We may take care of all the steps remotely up to the moment of the biometrics appointment. Once we go to the biometrics appointment, we receive a notification a few weeks after for the payment to occur, or a few months after for the payment to be made. Once the payment is made, we receive the cards here in our office and we send it to the clients. In broad terms, this is the process that we need to go through in order to get the golden visa cards. Of course, I can explain it in more detail to anyone that is interested in listening to it, but in broad terms, it's this.
Thank you, thank you, Henry. Antonio, when does the funds onboarding process start, and how do you coordinate with the legal teams on compliance requirements such as sort of KYC and AML?
So basically, we coordinate directly with the legal representatives, in this case, CMS. We hope so. Let me just do a quick addenda to what Enrique was telling. Of course, that you can diversify or divide your investment through several different investment funds. But if you are seeking diversification, you could apply the 500,000 euros in the Portugal Future Fund, because it's already been diversified by investing in these several different sectors. So if the problem or if you are afraid that you will not have enough diversification, you can then have a full conversation with us, and we can explain to you in depth how we do it and how we take care of that part. So going on to your question, Steve. So basically, once all the documents are collected by the legal representatives, they are sent it to us. And basically, I don't want to bother you with a lot of details, but basically, there are two different things that we need to receive. One is 3 different forms, basically identification form, investor profile, and the subscription form. These are three different, very simple forms that you just have to fill in all the information about the person that is going to execute the investment, what is his or her knowledge about financial industry and the financial products, and basically what is the size of the investment. And basically, to comply with AML and KYC rules, we just have to, along with these forms, we just have to receive complementary information that attests that the information that was stated on the forms is according to the truth, and basically to certify what are or what is the source of the fund that is going to be used to execute the investment. Once all this process is validated, as Enrique mentioned, basically we countersign the subscription form. That basically it's the document that certifies that the client has invested 500,000 euros in Portugal Future Fund, and also we issue a AIMA declaration, basically stating that Mr. or Mrs. X or Y has invested 500,000 euros to the fund, in a fund that invests 60% of its capital in Portuguese-based companies. That is one of the criteria that we have to meet in order to be eligible for Golden Visa, and also that we do not engage directly or indirectly in real estate-related projects.
Lovely. Thank you, Antonio.
Let me just add something really quickly, Steve. Of course, as Antonio was saying, we are always worried not to bother with too much details or too much technicalities. But the idea is that this description of that you just listened, really well described by Antonio. Of course, that the idea is that we assist the clients along the way, and we try to make this onboarding as easy as possible, speaking directly with the fund and managing with the client the easiest way to get to the fund, everything that is asked for. Okay.
Thank you, Henry. And Paul, I'm seeing obviously a lot of questions in the chat, and we know that the inboxes at Portugal Pathways are filling up. So why do you think there is such a high demand for Portugal's Golden Visa, and how does it sort of contrast and compare with some of the other Golden Visas that might be on offer across Europe?
Well, I mean, if you take Spain has stopped its Golden Visa because it was property related only, and Portugal has been at it and much more sophisticated ecosystem through its alternate investment funds. So that's a big thing. Greece, you're investing in property, and it's a much more complex thing to come and try and sell some of those properties in Greece than maybe it is in Portugal through the alternate investment funds. Malta had a program that was stopped recently, but it wasn't a true residency program. It was basically invest. You have to not come to the country, and we'll give you a European passport. Well, the European Union decided to stop that because it showed no evidence of residency activity. They showed no commitment to the country, whereas Portugal's Golden Visa requires you to come 7 days a year or 14 days every fortnight. It's now adding some cultural things. You have to do so many online hours on the language. So there is effort that you have to put in to this scheme. And the country and what's going on in the country is the biggest draw. And that safety and security can't be underplayed. It's a great climate, has wonderful food, wonderful coastline, countryside, vibrant cities, a growing business and tech scene. There's over 8,000 software engineers that are qualifying in Portugal as it stands. There's a lot of talent there and a high degree of English speaking right across the country. So these are the things, and its economy is on the up compared with pretty well anywhere at the moment. You'll struggle to find anywhere that is on the trajectory that Portugal's on, and this is why Portugal Pathways came about. We were working internationally, and we saw more and more demand for what was going on in Portugal. and we now help people find a soft landing for their life, their investments, and meet like-minded people and enjoy like-minded experiences.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. One of the things you mentioned, Paul, there was obviously the alternative investment fund scene that is in Portugal. So could you give us a quick overview of Portugal Pathways and its Portugal Golden Visa Investment Fund Index? What it is, how it's used, and how obviously it can support investors and their advisors.
Yeah, well, we set up an index of more than 30 of the top alternative investment funds in Portugal, because there's no such thing as a golden visa fund. They're just funds that the CMVM have approved for golden visa purposes. So a lot of these funds would exist in their own right, and many of the fund managers like Quadrantis and the Future Fund, Portugal Future Fund, are seeing and building platforms that are investing in these core sectors that are doing phenomenally well. And so we're agnostic as to which funds they choose, but we will help you navigate those with your advisors, or we can bring advisors to those meetings to analyze and shortlist what's right for you. And Americans have to be a little bit more careful, because the long arm of the US Treasury, they're taxed on their worldwide income, and Portugal stands aside under the double taxation agreement, so between the two countries. So you won't pay tax on any upside in Portugal on these investments. But, you do have to make sure that you pick funds that are compliant with PFIC and have QEF compliant language. And again, our index can help you navigate that. But no one can control the IRS and how they apply things. But we can give you all the guidance and all the right documentation to ensure that you've got the safest passage to make sure that you're as tax efficient and compliant as you can be in this process.
Brilliant. Thank you, Paul. For those of you that are interested in the audience in understanding more about the Portugal Golden Investment Fund Index, where there are, as Paul mentioned, over 30 of the major alternative investment funds available for Golden Visa, my colleague will be putting a link in the chat so you can go and have a little look at what that is all about. Now, obviously, lots of questions coming in. I can see it's really engaged. But before we move into the chat questions that have been coming in, I have sort of one final question, and that is, and this we ask this quite a lot, is how long does the €500,000 investment need to stay in place for Golden Visa purposes? And Henrique, I'm going to sort of push that one to you, please.
Yeah, of course. So the idea is that the investor keeps a valid investment, an eligible investment, not only during the lifetime of the Golden Visa, but also during the time where the process or the citizenship request is being approved and is being analyzed and approved, right? So we have 5 years counting from the submission day, and around 2 years from the moment you file the citizenship request up to the moment the citizenship is granted. This period tends to be reduced in the near coming future. If that happens, we will let you know, but we will count at least with a period of 7 years. I would count with a period of, let's say, 7 to 8 years from the moment the investment is made, but I would count with a minimum of 7 years. Okay.
Lovely, thank you. So yeah, as I said, we've got lots of questions now coming in the chat. So we're going to just sort of address some of those. And again, if we don't get to all of the questions by the end, we want to keep it as tight as we possibly can do to that hour mark. We will be going back to you all individually, those that obviously we can't get to within this Q&A session. So we've got a question here in the chat from Sam. Sam's just asking, and I know, Henrik, you went into this a little bit, but what documents are needed to be notarized and apostilled before submission? And can you give him a little bit more on how to achieve this? And maybe at the same time,
I would
just give an overview on that.
I would suggest that he books a call with us, because it will depend on the family members. It will depend on many things. But let me just give a general reply, okay? So all the foreign documents, in order to be valid before the Portuguese authorities, need to be apostilled, okay? So basically, an apostille, for those who don't know, it's an official stamp saying this is an official document in the States or in the UK or whatever. So which documents need to be apostille? Criminal records, birth certificates, marriage certificates. In general, these are the documents that need to be. Then there's a third document, which is basically the proof that that there is that taxes are paid by the investor somewhere. Okay, so we will need to file. Let's say, do we know the nationality, Steve?
No, I don't know the nationality of this.
Okay, but if so, we would need to prove. So imagine if you are talking about, because it depends on many things. I would suggest that the person, the individual that just raised the question, would book a call with us. I think it would be useful. But for example, if he's American, we also need to file a proof that he's paying taxes somewhere. So we would get the social security cards. We would notarize a copy of the social security cards, and we would apostille the notarization. Okay, that's how we usually do. In the UK, we would get, for instance, the front page of the tax return, and we would apostille the tax return. But basically, this would the only documents that in principle would need to be apostilled are. Then I may change this if some information is added, but birth certificate, marriage certificate, criminal records, and the document proving that taxes are paid somewhere else. I would just add that that it's important. We will go through this later on, but all these documents, birth certificate, criminal record, and marriage certificate, have a validity to comply with, which means that we would need, in principle, to ask for new documents, new birth certificates, new marriage certificates, and new criminal records for the golden visa request to be submitted.
Lovely, thank you. Great answer to that question. Thank you, Henrik. Henrik, I'm going to stay with you on this one. This is a question from Amanda. She's saying, can I invest directly from my US retirement account into an alternative investment fund for golden visa? And again, I know we answered that, but maybe you could sort of go into that in a little bit more detail. Maybe Antonio could talk.
Yes, I would pass to Antonio. Yes, it's possible, but Antonio, it's clearly the man to answer to that question.
Yes. So as Enrique said, it's always best to book a call with us so we can go through the details, because this is quite a complex process. But yeah, it's possible. There is the need to do some things and to be aware, because the IRS, as we all know, it is a very complex system. It's very demanding, so it's possible, but I think it's best to analyze the each case on a case-by-case basis and to understand what are the specifics of each one.
Lovely. Thank you, Antonio. Just look at some of these questions now. I want to hear from Ian. So Ian's asking, and Paul, I'm going to ask you to come in on this one for me, please. Is it true that if I withdraw the investment of 5 years, my family will lose the opportunity to get permanent dual EU passports?
Yeah, well, the government set up the golden visa scheme to get people to invest in the country. So they don't want you withdrawing your money after 5 years or before you 5 years. And then if you want to apply for permanent citizenship, which is taking anywhere between a year to 2 years, but it's coming down, but nobody can say how long exactly that's going to take. And I'll get shot by Henrique otherwise. But it takes 5 years of the golden visas, but in reality, it probably nearer 7 years your money needs to stay invested until you get the permanent passport. If you withdraw it, you do invalidate the whole reason for doing it, which is to get the second passport. So hopefully that answers that question.
That is, yeah, that's pretty clear and concise. Thank you, Paul. Another question coming in. We've got a question from Amelia. Antonio, this one's for you. Can she split the €500,000 investment across multiple funds and still qualify for a golden visa?
Yes. The answer is quite straightforward. Is yes. As I told a few minutes ago, if the problem it is, or the concern is to diversify the risk between several different funds, Portugal Future Fund already offers that diversification level. But basically, as I mentioned, we issue a declaration stating that X person has subscribed Y amount of participation units of the fund. So basically, what she needs to do is to gather all this declaration from all the management entities that are managing the funds that she invested in, and basically delivered it to AIMA.
Thank you. I've got another question before we sort of go into sort of final summarizing and wrapping up today's webinar. This one is from Jordan, and Paul, I'm going to ask you to take this one. It's quite a complex question, but anyway, looking at the Portuguese stock market over the last 10 years compared with private equity funds that have diversified, like the Portugal Future Fund, which option has delivered the best returns long term?
That's a complex one. What I'm going to say on this is there's different types of funds. You've got open funds, which predominantly invest in public bonds and stocks, public trading things. But Portugal has a very small public market. So what you have to bear in mind, we've seen a lot of volatility in the international public markets recently with what's going on with tariffs and various other things. So when you've got 20 odd companies that are public, majority being banks or energy companies, then if the Nasdaq sneezes, then Portugal's public markets may get a very bad cold. So we have seen a number of corrections over the last 10 years, but I think over 10 years the public markets have seen about 16-17% growth. But that doesn't take into account the inflation, and we all know what's happened to inflation over the last 10 years. So private equity has outperformed the public markets, and in the European private equity market over the last 2 quarters, they've outperformed the public markets, even in America. So it's all about understanding your choices and understanding you as an investor, what your goals are and what you're trying to achieve. So I don't really want to answer what's best or right on a call like this, because it depends on the investor's outlook, where they are on the investor cycle. And I'd much rather get on a call with you guys and talk through all the different options, from open funds to closed funds to multi-sector funds to single sector, and what all the relative risk profiles are, and give you the best solution linked to what you want as the best outcome.
So if I may I add some comments on that, because I can, of course, that I'm speaking in favor of the fund that we are managing. But just to give you a quick comment on that, as Paul very rightly mentioned, the market for public investments is quite small. And I just wanted to bring up a very good example of the Magellan Fund that was managed by Peter Lynch in the 70s during 13 years. So during that time, the fund was able to generate 29% of annual returns, which transformed 10 million in something like 14 billion euros. And the majority of the investors lost money during that period, just because it was an open-ended fund. and after a couple of good months, they invested into the fund. After a couple of bad months, they withdraw their money, and they were not able to surf this wave and enjoy this absurd amount of money that was generated. And by investing in a closed-end fund, you subtract the human emotions from the equation. So it's one of the reasons why the private equity funds and the closed-end funds are outperforming the public markets and the open-ended funds.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would just reiterate, you know, having a mix. Some people want a little bit of, you know, an open-ended element in their investments, but we're not seeing many people that want to invest in more than 2 funds, because you are adding a lot more complexity in terms of reporting. And if you have got diversification through multi-sector, and if you still want to have, you know, an element of an open-ended fund, but you have to remember that money's got to stay invested anyway. So it is a little bit of an illusion if your ultimate goal is to get a permanent passport. So.
Lovely, thank you, Paul. Just for that, I've seen there are a couple of questions that have just come into the chat. I don't know if you've seen them, Henrique. One from Kristen and one from Nathaniel with regards to biometric appointments and scheduling. So Kirsten's asking what's expected timing between submitting the application and getting the biometric appointment scheduled. And I know that's a moving target somewhat, isn't it?
It's completely impossible to answer something like that. I know that colleagues of mine love saying specific deadlines. Oh, in 1 year and a half, in 1 year. It's pure speculation. Okay, no one exactly knows, because as I think that it's public, there is an overload. There was an overload created by the backlog, let's say, created by the COVID, by the requests that were filing during COVID without being decided. Okay, I can't tell you if it's going to be 1 year or 1 year and a half until the biometrics. What applicants need to know is that it starts counting for the citizenship from the moment it is submitted online. Okay, this is the main topic for everyone. It's really because it was a game changer, and it was a legal amendment that was foreseen, and that came because of this delay between the submission and the biometrics appointment. So it starts counting for the 5 years required to be eligible for the citizenship, not from the moment the first card is issued, but from the moment we apply online. Okay, this is the first comment. Second, yes, it may take around 1 year and a half or 1 year, or to be honest, no one exactly knows. I don't think that more than that, but possibly less. But it will be pure speculation. Besides the comment I already did regarding the moment it starts counting, I would just add that if by any chance, because most of the applicants, their main purpose is to get access to the citizenship. As it is counting from the moment it is applied, they don't care how long is it going to take. But if by any chance the investors or the applicants do have this rush in getting the visa, or imagine that all of a sudden, it happens sometimes. I'm a bit suspicious to talk about this, but imagine that all of a sudden the golden visa applicant madly falls in love with Portugal, and they want to have a quick access to the visa. What you need to know is that there is a method that we can use to expedite the issuance of the visa, which is called within the Anglo-Saxonic world a subpoena, or a claim for the protection of constitutional rights. It's something that we have been using a lot, especially with the clients that are in a rush to get the visa, and within, let's say, around, nowadays it's taking a little bit long, with around 4 months counting from the moment we file the claim, we would have access to the biometrics appointment. So let me just answer in another way, Steve, as a summary of all my comments to this question. It starts counting from the moment it's submitted online. If by any chance the applicant wants to have access to the golden visa card sooner than later, the idea is that we'd file this subpoena that I was mentioning. This subpoena may be filed 90 days from the moment the golden visa is submitted online. So if we count 90 days plus the 90 days to 4 months that is being decided, plus 2 months, I would say that in case there is an urgent need of getting or interest in getting in having access to the visa, we right now are getting it not but not naturally, but we need to pressure it, but we are having access to it with around 10 months, around 10 to 11 months from the moment the golden visa is submitted, Steve.
Lovely, thank you. As obviously Henrique suggested, it is a little bit of a moving target, but that was a good summary of the current situation. Thank you, Henrique.
Because it's difficult to answer with only
Exactly.
a deadline. It's like it's an incomplete answer.
No, I understand. We understand. So yeah, we're now going to sort of draw the webinar to its conclusion. We've managed to contain it within an hour. Before we go, I'd like really just to sort of go around the room and for each of the panelists really just to give us a takeaway from today's webinar. So Antonio, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, thank you very much for the opportunity. If I were to leave you with one takeaway, it would be the Portugal Future Fund offers a unique combination of regulatory security, economic relevance, and strategic diversification, all underpinned by a management team with real operational experience and history of delivering returns. Whether your goal is wealth diversification, EU mobility, or legacy planning for your family, we believe this fund presents a compelling and future-proof solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Antonio. Henrique?
Oh my God, that was almost poetry, Antonio. Wow. No, I was kidding. So I would just add, considering what we just said here, because I saw here on the information regarding the queries that are being made at the same time, there are people interested in moving forward as soon as possible. I would just add that we can still try. We still have time to file the golden visa before this new law takes into force. And of course, we don't know exactly what is going to happen, but the law as it is proposed, it's clearly not going to be the law that is going to be in the end approved. So for all of those who are interested in moving forward, maybe we should try to file it before this new law takes into force, because the regime might be better if the grandfathering regime will be as expected. This will be my main comment. As a conclusion, all the others that are not sure and want to see what happens, I would still move forward with everything and be in conditions of making the investment and filing the golden visa, just in case we have time between the approval of the law and the moment the law takes into force, and in case this law satisfies the investor, we will have time between these two moments to file the golden visa and get a better golden visa regime to be applicable to the investors. I think this is the main conclusion of what we discussed here today.
More poetry, Henrique. Thank you very much. Thank you. And Paul, I leave the last words to you.
Yeah, well, what I'd say is nothing's changing in terms of the golden visa. All the benefits remain the same, but plan early, act early, and you'll get the best outcome. Those that don't, they leave themselves open. And Portugal has never retrospectively applied law. Nobody can write the future, but it's never happened, and would have all sorts of constitutional issues, I'm sure. But they've never done it. They've always played fair when they finally put things in. They had grandfathering rules previously, but why leave it to chance? If you can act early and put it all in place, then we're seeing a lot of people, speeding up their plans. They're not slowing them down. And that's, but it's obviously all subject to everybody's, what's right for each and every family, and that really. So
exactly.
Yeah, I just saw a comment here on the queries, right? Actually, and it's very easy to answer it. If it's the 7 days are continuous stay in Portugal, no. It's the important is that during 1 year you stay here 7 days. It could be one day per month, or just a 7 day vacation. So it's 7 days per during the 5 years period, basically.
Yeah, or 7 days a year, or 14 days every 2 years, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically because it's 7 days or 14 days, because you only need to prove it when you go for the renewal, and when you go for the renewal it's after 2 years, so you need to prove the 14 days in the period of each period, 14 days in each period of 2 years.
Lovely. Brilliant. Thank you, guys. So yeah, a big thank you to our audience today. Obviously, thank you for staying with us. We will be sending out a recording and a replay of the webinar. So again, you can scrutinize it at your leisure. A big thank you to Antonio, Henrique and Paul for their times today.
Thank you.
Portugal Pathways have next webinars. We've got a couple coming up in close proximity to each other. The first one is on August the 28th, and that's all around investing in luxury new homes in Portugal. And then the following week, on September the 2nd, we have a webinar that's going to be focusing on how to optimize your tax position in Portugal. And again, I think my colleague has obviously put up a link, which is off our events page. All our forthcoming webinars are on there, as well as our previous webinars and links to those as well. So if you have any questions, or you'd like to arrange a discovery call with one of our advisors, please do so, obviously via the website or via the link that my colleague has put onto the screen. But obviously, thank you for your attendance, and we will again be keeping you informed of any changes to any legislations that potentially affect the golden visa as it moves forward. They'll be on our website, articles within our newsletters. So if you haven't already done so, obviously please sign up, and then you won't miss out on any of the latest news. A final thank you, and we will see you next time. Thank you very much.